All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, welcome to the 11th edition of Your Questions, My Answers. I haven't done one of these in so long. But here we are. So anyway, pretty much all this is I pretty much take some of the questions that you guys ask me, whether it's from the comment section or email, or if you found me on other social media pages and you wrote me on that. I just try to take some of the questions and just answer them in video format. So let's jump into them. Of course, you guys always love to ask about the books, but somebody had recently asked, they were saying that they're a new subscriber, and if I could recommend about 5 to 10 books, which ones would I recommend? So this is what we'll do. Out of these up here, because I have a bunch of other books, they're just not on display. And then, of course, Audibles get me caught up. Like, I love Audible because, I can get through the books faster because I can play it while I'm driving to work because I got like a 20-30 minute commute and really just get it in. And then I can play it, while I'm laying down getting ready to go to sleep, or if I'm like, getting ready in the morning and stuff like that. But out of these here, of course, a given, I've always said this a million times, Malcolm X, autobiography. Definitely a must. I think everybody should read this one. Lots of layers of growth as far as his experience. And I think what I like about that is it shows you that at one point in time, he was not the Malcolm X that we knew. He was still on his own journey. He was out there gambling and sleeping with a bunch of random women and stealing and stuff like that. And seeing the growth and seeing the development and him evolving to the person that he would become later on. I think that's important sometimes. Sometimes we always see people when they're at their best, but I always appreciate people who are transparent and vulnerable and share their experience and their mindset and where they were when they were technically at what you would sometimes call their worst or maybe not their best. So that's always a good read. If I'm only thinking of 5 out of these, oh yeah, this is a good one. The Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. This is actually an older text, but it's still prevalent today. It really fits in for 2018. Well, we're going into 2019, but it's still prevalent today. And another one, definitely, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome is a good read. All right. Again, fitting for 2018. When you're talking about a lot of the things that we're seeing happen, even within the diaspora, when you're talking about the experience of Black Americans, some of the viewpoints, the ideologies, the way that some people are going about doing things, this right here, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, my goodness, that's a good read. If I could see anything else here. Oh, Asada, of course, this is one of my favorite books as well. I've probably shouted this book out the most on this entire series. Asada Shakur, just her experience, where pretty much she was framed for allegedly killing police and everything like that. And she shares her childhood experience, but she also shares her experience of what happened while she was incarcerated. And I mean, she went through some stuff like, she had got shot. They never did the actual surgery to, take care of everything. And then she was paralyzed. They were still beating her up as far as the police. She got pregnant and gave birth to the baby on the floor in the jail cell. I'm like, y'all, whew, that's a lot. Another book up here, of course, The New Jim Crow, as always. I think everybody kind of knows about this book at this point, but The New Jim Crow, Michelle Alexander. If you're trying to understand just America's judicial system and why it is the way that it is, that's a great introduction into a lot of things. As far as what I've been reading on Audible, and the only thing, I wish I could start reminding myself to buy the physical copies of the book after I get them on Audible. It would help. But, of course, I've talked about The Color of Law. Clearly, that book, my God. So if you want to understand race in America from a structural standpoint, where you're talking about finances and wealth and home ownership and ordinances and everything like that and redlining, that is the book to read. I mean, the author goes from like city to city to city and pretty much can explain why the makeup of the cities are the way they are, why the layout is the way they are, from cities all the way from Baltimore to Richmond, California, to Los Angeles, to Atlanta, to DC. I mean, even places in Montana. The author is mentioning, and I mean, it's very well researched, and there's so much documentation of just the arguments being made. So that's a really, really good read. What else? The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin. Of course, that's an older text as well, but I think it's still prevalent to today. That's a good read. Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me, I really thought that was an excellent read. Everything he does is really good as far as everything from the essays and the different books that he has. Really great work. So I really enjoyed his book. And I'd rather you get it on Audible because you can actually hear him narrate it, and there's something about his delivery that just makes you connect with the text more. Any other ones here? I guess also Dick Gregory's defining moments in Black history is a good one too. And so those are some of the ones that I would really recommend, or just check out. Just if you want to kind of expand your way of understanding certain things that maybe are not as familiar because they're not talked about. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on. Somebody was asking me, well, you're always talking about music, and you're always talking this, that, and the third, but who do you listen to that's more so current, or what have you been listening to in 2018? So of course, I like Anderson .Paak. Like I said, that's one of my favorites out. I like the Visions project. I enjoyed Miguel's project. I actually listened to SZA, even though I did talk about the people singing in cursive all the time, and she's one of them. But I did like her album. Thought it was a great album. I like what Tamia came out with this year. I like Tamia. She's so underrated. But that's cool. I like Tamia. The Internet's album was good. Janelle Monáe's album was good. J Rock, even though it's more so hip hop, I thought he had an excellent album. J Rock had an excellent album. Pusha T had a nice album as well. Maya, believe it or not, I think had a really great R&B album. It was kind of under the radar, but it was really good. And I also like Stokely's album. Even I think Stokely's album came out at the end of 2017. But to be honest, when I listen to music, I don't just listen to what's current. I kind of play with everything. I had been listening to a lot of Duke Ellington, a lot of his the Far East Suite album. I listened to a lot of that for some reason. I don't know why. It's just very therapeutic, enjoyable to listen to. Like if you're really into like jazz and stuff like that. And believe it or not, like CeCe Winans, her last gospel album, the Let Them Fall in Love, I think is what it's called. It's something about her voice, because I think musically she's kind of mellow. She doesn't really shake the table too much, but her delivery is just so like pure for some reason, and I just connect with all her music. So I really like CeCe Winans' voice. I even bought her Christmas album the other day, and again, it's almost similar to the Let Them Fall in Love album as far as the styling, but yeah, I mean, those are some of the acts I listen to, and of course I constantly play all of my older albums and everything like that from different acts, and there's a lot of other people I listen to, and it's not just R&B. I mean, it's country, it's a lot of the different albums. I listened to Shania Twain's album, even though she decided she wanted to be a Trump supporter. That just made me change my whole opinion of her. I'm like, really, Shania? I was trying to rock with you. Just a lot of different sounds and everything like that. I've been listening to a lot of that like world music. What's that group? Blood Orange. A bunch of different acts that you wouldn't really think I'd listen to. Like all kinds of different things. Bjork. Like, I mean, I've just been on a journey this year, just kind of listening. If it's connecting, I'll listen to it. I'm not biased against anybody or any genre. If it sounds good, I'll give it a try. So that's what I was into. Somebody was asking me, like, describe one of my scariest moments. To be honest, that crap happened today. So, mind you, like I said, all these videos are you're seeing them now, but these were all recorded before I left DC to head to Atlanta for this holiday break. But anyway, today is, what's the day? December 23rd. So, anyway, I had left the barbershop, was coming home. As I was getting in the elevator, or coming out the elevator, going down my hall, I just hear like this, help, help, help. And I'm like, what the heck? And these two girls are running towards me, so I'm thinking, oh, somebody must have passed out, they need CPR. Okay, good. And I'm like, what's the problem? And they're like, fire. I'm like, fire? And I'm like, where? They're like, the apartment right there. And so literally, the woman who lives directly across from me, her whole kitchen caught fire. She was trying to make some fries or something, like in the grease, and the grease was too hot and the fries were frozen, and she threw them in there. And I don't know what happened, but all I know is I was like, the first thing that came to my mind, and I know this sounds crazy, I just started thinking about the album that I had been working on since January, and I'm like, I don't need my apartment to burn up right now, because I have almost done with this album. I can't have it burn up. So when I tell you I ran into my apartment, I grabbed my laptop, I grabbed like 3 different hard drives, and I'm like, dang, I can't take the whole studio in here, it's insured, just get that. I grabbed like my dad's obituary, because I think that's the last copy we have. I grabbed like 2 other things, and I had like a whole bag full of stuff. I was like, okay, what's next? And then, mind you, that was probably the worst thing to do, but I was just like, listen, those things were important to me at the time. I was like, y'all don't understand how hard I worked on the album. I'm like, I'm not losing all that because somebody was making French fries. And so the woman Because everybody was running in the hallway, like, what do we do? What do we do? I'm like, did somebody call 911, get the fire extinguisher, get all of that stuff? And so, somebody had the fire extinguisher. And believe it or not, I took the fire extinguisher, and you're not supposed to run into a burning building, but me, F that. I don't need your apartment to burn up, because that means it's going to come to mine. And so I went right in that thing. I had my little thing spraying. I couldn't see nothing, because it was just all smoke, and then all the white stuff from the fire extinguisher. And so the fire had already been out, apparently, by the time I got to it, but there was so much smoke, nobody could see anything. And so the lady, was panicking. I'm like, we all got to go downstairs and get out of this side. And, somebody was calling 911. I was telling the people at the front desk what was going on. And fortunately, the fire was able to be contained to just that apartment. But, there was so much smoke in the hallway. That hallway right now, if I go out there and take a picture, like, they've been doing all kind of maintenance on it today. But, you couldn't even recognize the building. There was so much water damage and everything like that. Fortunately, my apartment wasn't really affected. The smoke was in here, so I had to have the windows open all day and blow the fans and everything. And one of my homeboys was coming over because I was helping him with his project, and he was supposed to use my studio so he could do a voiceover. And I'm like, we got the fan blowing while he's trying to record. I'm like, all kind of smoke. I did get checked out with the ambulance just to make sure everything was good. Like, I didn't inhale too much, because listen, I saw that This Is Us episode where the house burned down, and the dad thought he was fine, and then he died like a few days later, or that same night. That wasn't going to be me. So, yeah, that was a kind of scary moment, because it was like, it's fire, fire, you can't fight something that's bigger than you. But, the fire department was really cool. They got it out so quick, and everything was good. We were back in the building within, like, the same hour. And they brought all these different little gadgets and stuff to try to blow the smoke out. But it does make you grateful for the things that you have. I feel bad for the woman. They were able to save most of her apartment, but, there's water damage and smoke and everything. So she's probably going to have to throw all that furniture out. So, I'll probably get her, like, a nice car with some money and stuff, because she has kids and stuff. So I want the kids to still have Christmas, too, if they celebrate Christmas. And so, that was kind of scary. That had me a little shook for a minute. And I was like, I don't know. And then I started thinking about what if it would have spread. I was thinking of all the things that I would have lost. And not the materialistic things, but the things that are sentimental. Like, I have a lot of random things that I hold on to. I'll share it once I start doing some of these YouTube live videos. But I still have, like, old homework assignments from when I was 9. I have all of the letters that one of my aunts sends me. Like, every letter she sent me since I was, like, 11, I still have. I have this random bear that I've had since my dad bought it for me when I was born, and I still have that. I was thinking of all those things, like, had they perished, I was like, woo, I'm grateful for everything. That made me appreciate everything I have. Moving on, let me see. Somebody was asking, where do I see myself in 5 years? To be honest, I don't know. And that may not be the answer you want, but I honestly don't know. I've just kind of been going with the moment. I would hope that, hopefully I'm in a different career field. I still, I love working with the kids, but I do want to expand and do a few different things. So I'm hoping I'd be working in a field a bit closer to what I want to really do as far as what my passions are. Hopefully at least engaged, or maybe married, or starting a family. I'm ready to do that, kind of. As far as some of the passions, I would hope that my music got me enough traction where I could make music for other people and get paid for it. Hopefully maybe one of my scripts got picked up, or maybe I got, a writing gig or something like that. That would be really cool, I honestly don't know, but those are some of the things I would hope for. And so we'll see, hopefully this channel grows into something much bigger, and maybe the podcast expands. We'll see. Somebody was asking about my younger brother. I always talk about my brother in my podcast, and they're like, well, where is he? We never see him. Does he live here with me? No, my brother lives in Washington State. So my brother is about 7 years younger than me, and he's living his best life at the moment. So, he's out doing his thing, and, I would like to build a better relationship with him. We're not beefing or anything. We're just different, and so we don't get to talk as much as we would like to. We kind of check in with each other every 2 weeks or so. But, because of that age difference, we've just never, all of his teenage years, I was in college and everything like that. So the last time that we've really just always been around each other a lot was when we were still kids. But no, we're good. He's awesome. He's awesome. Like I said before, he's a lot more sociable than I am. Like, he's somebody that can make friends with anybody. Me, I'm a little bit more closed off. It takes a little bit more work with me. So, he's good people, though. But thank you for asking. Somebody was asking me if I could revisit an age. What would I revisit? for now, I would like to go back to like, or I would like to revisit like being age 8. For some reason, that was a good time. For some reason, it was right before we moved to Italy. Me and my dad went on this long road trip across the whole country. Like we went from Washington State down to California, across all the southern states, and then up to Philadelphia, and then that's when we all moved to Italy. But I mean, during that trip, it was like a 2-month trip, and I mean, we traveled all around the country. We saw different family members. We saw the Grand Canyon. We went to Disneyland. We went to all these different places. So much fun. And then it was just a great time. The innocence that was there. The music was good. I remember Quad City DJs had just came out with The Train. That was my favorite song. Remember, come on, ride the train. And can ride it. Wow, wow. Like, that was my song. And then, minus being in trouble, because I got in trouble a lot, too. And so, you remember, like, back in the day when you get in trouble, you couldn't go outside. And then the moments where you couldn't go outside, it seemed like every kid in the neighborhood was outside that day. And I remember them days, I'd be looking out the window. And I mean, you can hear the screams of the kids playing in the street, and you just looking all out the window, and then your mama, close the blinds, get out the window. I'm like, dang, I can't even look in the window either. Like, dang, but no, that if I could go back, I would go back to that time period. That was a lot of fun. Everybody in my family was in good health. My little brother was probably like 1.5, but you know, that was a really good time. That was a highlight. I'd love to go back to that just to visit. The innocence of childhood, it always will trump being an adult sometimes. Somebody was asking me my thoughts on like YouTube couples and the prank accounts. Like, do I watch any of them? And I guess they're talking about, you know, there's a lot of people on YouTube who are really popular now who it's like couples, and they kind of made like their own reality shows, and you know, it just follows them as they do their daily couple-ish things. And I don't really watch any of that. I'm really like, there's not a lot of YouTubers I even watch anyway, just because I'm busy. I don't have a lot of time to really sit and watch YouTube. But if I were to look at YouTube, the people I watch, I like that Terrell channel, the guy who has the people who really can like sing. Like, I'm amazed by the people that are on that channel that sing some really great voices. I like to watch Yvette Carnell. Like, I learned a lot from her. I like watching her stuff. I watch a lot of the like videos where they talk about the company, how a company went bankrupt. I forgot the channel name. I like watching that. I like the Bright Sun Films channel. They always do like the abandoned or the defunct land and stuff like that about amusement parks and why they closed. I like watching all those like business videos. Lots of history stuff. I'm not into following other people's lives. I'm just not interested. Same thing with the pranks. You know, there's a lot of people who do like just prank videos. I can't buy into that either. I'm like, can't do it. I'm not gonna knock them. It works for them. They all have millions of subscribers and make lots of money and have lots of fans, but that's just not for me. I'm not into that. And then somebody was asking just advice for starting their own YouTube channel and their own podcast. And I guess, I don't know why you're asking me. I'm not the one to really ask because there's bigger channels, you know, but I would just say be yourself. You know, I think that's the best thing you can do is be yourself, because what's the worst that can happen? People don't like you. Woo woo. You don't know them anyway. I would definitely say be yourself, be transparent. Gimmicks are cool for the moment, but they don't give you longevity. So be careful with what it is you want to put out there. And especially if you're doing something that's already been done a million times, try to think outside the box. But honestly, there's no rules to this. There's some things catch on, some things don't. You just kind of ride it all out. You know what I mean? And I would definitely say you would have to promote yourself on social media. I've never really promoted this channel when I launched it. I would just make my videos and whatever happens, happens. And that was just my own choice. But it would have been smarter to promote my channel when I was first starting it. I don't really need it now because this is bigger than all my social media platforms. But, in the beginning, it would have made a lot more sense to promote it. And, I would definitely say make sure you have a good quality camera. If you can, have quality sound. And just give people what they want. Give some substance. And consistency. I'm not really good at being consistent with this channel. I go days and days and days without doing videos. But, I mean, the hardest part is just starting. So start it out, test your way, and see what works. And anybody can do this. I'm nobody special or no expert. It was just one day I had something I wanted to get off my chest, and 8 years later, here we are. And then the last thing, somebody was asking me, how do I adjust to change, especially with friendships? And for me, change is hard. It can be very difficult, especially with friendships that may be kind of going on their last hurrah. Sometimes we hold on to people because of time. Maybe you've been tight with somebody since you were 9 or 10, and so you're like, well, we just have to be friends. But Everything they do is toxic. Every time you hear from them, it's draining. You may have to cut that person off, or not even cut them off, but restructure how you associate with them. Do what you got to do that fits for you. You got to just go with the flow. I think one of the hardest things for me as far as change when my father died was, in addition to my father dying, was understanding my new norm and adjusting to it and accepting it and living in it. It's difficult to go from a household of 4 to 3, where it was the 4 of us, me, my mom, and my brother, or me, my mom, my brother, and my father, to just me, my mom, and my brother. And then on top of that, all 3 of us are living in different regions of the country. My mom is moving to Atlanta, and my brother's still in Washington, and I'm in the other Washington, and that's a rough adjustment. We spend more time apart than we do together, and so that's a rough adjustment. But again, I think once you recognize you're not in control, and you just kind of not accept things as they are, but be willing to see things out, be willing to adjust as things realign. You know what I mean? When you fight it, it becomes a harder struggle, and it's hard. Everybody's experience is different. When you lose a parent or a friend or a spouse or a child, there's no overnight fix. It's the worst feeling. And I think the worst feeling for me, especially when my dad died, like those first 2 months, all I wanted to happen was like, God, I can't wait till we get out of this phase we're in right now, where everything is doom and gloom and nobody knows what's next. I can't wait till we get into our new norm. That was me. That's all I wanted, because it's hard. Like, especially for my mom, I felt so bad. I'm like, I can't imagine losing a spouse after 30 years. Like, it makes you almost not even want to fall in love. Like, man, I don't even want that kind of hurt. I don't even want to get married. Don't worry about it. And so that's tough. So, again, with a new norm and adjusting, there's no way to there's not really an answer, because everybody's different. Every experience is different, and we all interpret things differently, and you just have to kind of do what fits for you. If you're trying to go by how somebody else has experienced their journey, it may not work, because that journey wasn't for you. You know what I mean? But again, going back to the friendships and understanding change, like I said, sometimes when the tide has changed, you got to kind of go where the tide takes you. And so if it's for your own good, if it's for your own sanity and your own peace of mind, sometimes you do make those adjustments. And then you have some friends who you don't fall out, but maybe you just you don't talk as much as you used to, but there's no bad blood. You just recognize that you're both on a different journey. And so you appreciate each other for, what it is you have, but you recognize and respect that you guys are on a different path, and that's okay. That's it. It is what it is. This ended up being like a whole therapy session, but that's pretty much it. So those are pretty much the main questions. Anyway, hopefully you all are going to have a great new year and everything is aligning for your 2019. And anyway, I am back in DC on the 3rd, so then we'll be back to our regularly programmed schedule. And like I said, I'm trying to start doing some live videos. I finally figured out how to do it, and so we'll see. Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe.